Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got a stack of sources focused on one of life's biggest battles, procrastination. But this isn't just a productivity hack deep dive. The material we have, it's called Don't Leave Anything for Later. And it takes, well, a philosophical sledgehammer to the whole problem.
It really does. It frames it around the ultimate deadline.
The recognition that life is finite.
Exactly. The sources argue that, a lot of procrastination is just a form of delayed grief. We're coping with our mortality by just ignoring it.
And that just guarantees a massive list of regrets later on.
Right. So our mission is pretty clear. We need to understand why we forget time is passing and then use that harsh truth to really embrace urgent action.
Yeah, and the tone is set perfectly right at the start with that Robert Frost excerpt.
The woods are lovely, dark and deep.
But I promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. It just captures that tension so well, doesn't it, between the lovely distractions and the duties we have to ourselves.
That tension is constant. And if you look at how this material is structured, it really takes you on a journey. First, it's about confronting the reality of death.
Okay.
Then it moves into mastering your mindset. And then finally, applying all of that to living a good life. The whole thesis is that time is the one thing you can't get back.
Every missed trip, every missed conversation.
It's a permanent cost. All those opportunities we let slide because of, laziness or just plain cowardice.
So let's unpack that cost right away. There's this incredible, visceral story about the author Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Right, back in 1849.
He was literally led out to a square, tied to a post, and sentenced to be executed by firing squad.
Can you even imagine that, standing there, knowing you have maybe 60 seconds left of your life? He wrote about it later. He said in that final minute, he realized life wasn't just valuable, it was this transcendent gift. And then moments before they were supposed to shoot,
His sentence was commuted.
yeah, to hard labor in Siberia.
The relief must have been just absolute. But it's the realization that followed, that deep regret. That's the real takeaway for us.
It is. He wrote in his letters about mourning all the time he'd wasted on futilities, errors, laziness. That trauma gave him the ultimate clarity.
That every minute can be an eternity of happiness.
If you choose to use it. And the good news is, we don't need a firing squad to get that same clarity.
We can just use math.
We can use math. The source material has this thought exercise called 1,000 marbles.
I found this one brutally effective.
Yeah.
The average life expectancy is, about 75 years?
Roughly, which is about 3,900 weeks.
And 3,900 just feels terrifyingly small when you frame it like that.
It is. So the exercise makes it physical. You imagine a container with 3,900 marbles in it. And every Sunday, you take one out.
So you're not just counting down, you're physically seeing what's gone.
Exactly. You visualize the marbles you've already lost. If you're 40, for example, more than half of your marbles are gone. Over 1,800 weeks are just poof in the past.
It makes time a tangible, depleting asset. But the sources say the reality is even shorter than that, doesn't it? There's a difference between time alive and time for impactful action.
A huge difference. You might live to be 100, but the window where you're physically able to travel or mentally sharp enough to start a new business, that window is much shorter.
Or even just have your parents around to talk to.
Yes. The clock for meaningful action is ticking way faster than the clock for just existing.
So Dostoevsky gives us the regret of a life nearly lost. But what about the anxiety of a life not yet lived? That brings us to Julius Caesar.
Yeah. The story of him at the statue of Alexander the Great.
Caesar was 32, and he sees this statue of Alexander, who had already conquered half the known world by that age.
And then died young.
Right. And Caesar just weeps. He feels like he's accomplished absolutely nothing.
And that moment was the catalyst. It wasn't despair. It was urgent ambition. Caesar's journey to greatness really began where Alexander's ended.
It shows it's never too late to start.
But also that the pressure to start now is immense. Time just doesn't care about your feelings.
Okay, so to use that pressure constructively, the sources introduce another tool, this one from Nietzsche, eternal recurrence.
This is a heavy one. Imagine a demon appears and tells you that you have to live this exact life. Every joy, every pain, every single thought, again and again, infinitely.
And the question is,
would you fall down and curse the demon, or would you say, you are a god, this is the most divine thing I have ever heard?
it's not just some morbid thought experiment. It's meant to be a filter for your daily life.
A radical decision filter. Because if you truly had to repeat today forever, you'd instantly know which habits, which jobs, which relationships have to go.
Right, you would be forced to live a life you could truly love repeating.
It forces total accountability, and that's really the pivot from just thinking about mortality to actually mastering your mindset.
But that's the thing. Most of us know we need to change, but we resist. The marble jar is emptying, but we still put off the hard stuff. Why is that mental friction so powerful?
Well, that leads us straight into the boiling frog syndrome.
Also known as the region beta paradox.
Exactly. We all know the analogy. A frog will jump out of boiling water, but if you heat it up slowly, it just stays there.
And we're exactly the same. We handle a sharp crisis pretty well, but we're terrible at noticing a slow, gradual decline.
Precisely. It's the credit card debt that creeps up, the relationship that just sort of fades, the job that doesn't become awful overnight, just a little bit worse every year.
So you don't quit. You tell yourself, oh, it'll get better tomorrow.
It's the normalization of mediocrity. We don't change until the pain of staying put is finally greater than the pain of moving, but by then...
You've wasted years.
And the only way out of that trap is to confront what the source material calls the single harshest truth.
Which is?
Nobody is coming to save you.
That is a terrifying thought for a lot of people. It means giving up the hope that some external thing, a lottery win, a new boss, is going to fix your problems.
It's terrifying, but it's also incredibly liberating. The second you truly accept that the cavalry isn't coming, all the power shifts to you.
Your health, your finances, your happiness,
Yeah.
it's all on you.
Entirely your responsibility. There's no one grading your effort. The results just speak for themselves.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote from the aviator Eleanor Smith. She said something like, people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them.
They went out and happened to things.
Yes, they happen to things.
And that shift can happen in a single moment. You don't need years of therapy. Just look at Quentin Tarantino.
Right, tell us that story. He was 25, working a comfortable job in a video store. Not suffering, but...
stagnant. He was coasting. And his older flatmate, this guy Steve-O, just became bitter and lashed out. He told Quentin, "I've wasted my life hanging out with guys just like you."
Wow. And Tarantino's response wasn't defensive.
No, it was immediate self-assessment. He stayed up all night, did this brutal audit of everything wrong in his life, and made a plan to fix it.
And that led him to Hollywood.
That single honest moment changed his entire trajectory. And the question for you, the listener, is the same one. What are you doing wrong? And what's the plan to fix it starting tonight?
That willingness to admit you're wrong it's huge. But it leads to another problem, what the sources call climbing the wrong ladder.
You spend years climbing, you invest your whole identity, and then you realize the ladder is leaning against the wrong building.
But stepping down feels impossible.
And the difficulty isn't in seeing the right ladder. It's the psychological pressure from the people watching you. Your family, your colleagues, they all expect you to get to the top of that ladder.
So admitting you made a mistake feels like a public failure. So you just keep climbing.
You choose public validation over private fulfillment, and that is the very definition of a Pyrrhic victory.
Winning a battle at such a high cost, it feels like a defeat.
Exactly. We see it all the time. Career success at the expense of your health, your family. Dr. Gabor Mate, when he turned 80, talked about this. He regretted working so hard, sacrificing his joy, all driven by this unconscious need to prove he was worthy.
So the cost of winning the wrong game is your finite time. How do we stop that?
We have to shift our focus to what we can actually control. This is the Stoic idea, the dichotomy of control.
Okay, let's define that. What is actually in our control?
Your thoughts, your reactions, your effort, your actions. That's pretty much it.
And everything else.
Past mistakes, what other people think of you, the economy, the weather. It's all out of your control.
I love the Buddha's analogy here, the two arrows.
Yes. The first arrow is the event itself. The pain, the setback. You can't control that.
It hits you no matter what.
Right. But the second arrow is the suffering you inflict on yourself. The worry, the anger, the rumination. That second arrow is optional.
If it's out of your control, it should be out of your mind.
That's the goal. But there's a critical paradox here, a warning.
Which is what?
We have to be careful not to lie to ourselves. We often label things as out of our control to avoid the hard work. You know, my weight is out of my control, or my career is just luck.
That's an excuse.
It's a total lie. Your actions affect the outcome greatly. You have to be brutally honest about where your responsibility begins.
So once we've got that responsibility sorted, we have to translate it into action. And that brings us to the consistency paradox.
We're all governed by inertia, right? Newton's first law. An object at rest stays at rest. The friction to start a new habit is enormous.
It's the hardest part.
It's the hardest part to gain that momentum, but it's the easiest thing to lose. A week off and you're back to square one.
And we use sayings like, Rome wasn't built in a day to justify doing nothing.
Right, but the sources flip that. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks and building it every single day.
So it's about the daily action, not the end result.
It's about boring consistency. Success is just showing up, especially when you don't feel like it.
And showing up usually means choosing the harder path. Delayed gratification, this is the do the hard things principle.
It's the ultimate competitive edge. Look at the famous marshmallow test. The kids who could wait for the second marshmallow.
The ones who chose the hard path of waiting.
They had better outcomes across the board later in life. Higher test scores, better health.
And that is so much more important today, when our entire world is built for cheap dopamine.
Exactly. Social media hits, instant streaming, the hard choices, waking up early, exercising, deep work, they're becoming rare.
And because they're rare, they're valuable.
They give you the advantage. If you embrace that friction, you separate yourself from everyone looking for the easy fix.
And if you do that, you have to trust the results. That's accountability.
The sources are blunt here.
Right.
Results don't lie. People do. If you're not getting the result you want, it just means your expectations were too high for the work you put in.
You have to deserve what you want.
You have to become a deserving person. The ultimate check is a question the sources pose directly to you.
If someone watched you for a week, tracked every hour, would they be convinced you are serious about your goals?
That one question cuts through all the noise.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's hit a few final warnings from the material. First, who you spend your time with.
Your environment sets your default. Bad habits are contagious, so you have to stay away from people you don't want to become.
The sources are pretty direct about it.
Very. The clown is going to keep acting like a clown. The question you need to ask is, why are you still going to the circus?
You can't change if you're stuck in the same old patterns. And second, stop clinging to safety. Burn the boats.
The harbor is safe, but that's not what boats are for. You have to get out into the dangerous ocean. That resistance you feel is the fear of burning those comfortable boats behind you.
And for overcoming that fear, there's no better example than Charlie Munger. His story just destroys any excuse for self-pity.
It's the ultimate counterpoint. At 31, he was divorced, broke, and he was burying his 9-year-old son, who had died from cancer.
An unimaginable tragedy, something that would paralyze most people for life.
But he went on to become one of the most successful investors and thinkers in the world. The message from his life is so clear and so powerful.
Whatever it is, get over it. Start over. He did it. You can too.
And that kind of resilience is tied to the last piece of advice. Don't complain.
Because complaining is just blame shifting.
It's the ultimate avoidance strategy. It prevents acceptance, it prevents learning, and it prevents you from actually fixing the problem.
There's that great anecdote about the wise man and the joke.
Yeah, he tells the same joke until no one laughs anymore. And then he asks, if you can't laugh at the same joke repeatedly, why do you keep complaining about the same problem?
Stop repeating the joke and stop repeating the behavior. Replace it with gratitude.
And perspective. The sources mention General Adrien Carton-de-Wiart, who was shot countless times, lost an eye, and still said, frankly, I had enjoyed the war.
That's a radical perspective.
It is. Your current nightmare is someone else's dream scenario. If you woke up and the people you love are okay, you're already winning. All the daily stuff is small compared to what Munger or Dostoevsky faced. Use that truth.
So what does this all mean for you? The path to a good life, a life without that heavy regret? It seems to rest on two pillars. First, recognizing how short time is memento mori.
And second, taking full, undeniable responsibility, because nobody is coming to save you.
You have to accept that.
And you have to remember the analogy, old bricks will build the same house. You have to intentionally get rid of the negative habits, the bad influences, to make space for the new life you want to build.
Okay, our final provocative thought ties this all together. Using the idea of you as the main character of your own life.
Imagine a film is being made about your life right now. The audience is watching your choices, your consistency, your energy.
The question is, would people be excited to watch it? Inspired?
Or would they be left wondering, what is this character actually doing with their precious limited time?
Because you are the director.
Yeah.
You're the writer, the lead actor. You can create it however you want it.
And so we'll leave you with the final challenge from the source material, a quote that just demands you take action right now. When death comes to find you, may it find you alive.